Hello, and welcome to a brand new playthrough that I'm going to be doing. And as shown right there, it's going to be Dark Souls. That's the PC version. This is the Prepare to Die edition. It includes the Artorias of the Abyss DLC, which I will be attempting to complete once I actually get there in the game. This is going to be all bosses, or I'm going to at least attempt all bosses. There's a couple that I'm unsure about because I've never actually been able to beat, but we'll see when we get there. For now, let's just start a new game, create our character. Now our character, I'm usually terrible with coming up with names for characters, but I'm just going to stick with Jeff. We're just going to have Jeff for this playthrough. He's going to be a warrior, and we'll pick the Master Key as our gift. Average, yeah, sure. Let's go with Delta Farmer for Jeff, I think. And I think we'll go with Sweatback and light brown hair. Yeah, that's Jeff. No need to go too in depth with it. Rather just get into the game. So, sit back and enjoy the opening cutscene.
The world was unformed, shrouded by fog. A land of grey crags, arch trees, and everlasting dragons. But then there was fire, and with fire came disparity. Heat and cold, life and death, and of course, light and dark. Then from the dark they came and found the souls of lords within the flame. Nito, the first of the dead. The Witch of Izalith and her daughters of Chaos. Gwyn, the Lord of Sunlight and his faithful knights. And the furtive pygmy, so easily forgotten. With the strength of lords, they challenged the dragons. Gwyn's mighty bolts peeled apart their stone skins. The witches weaved great firestorms. Nito unleashed a miasma of death and disease. And Seath the Scaleless betrayed his own, and the dragons were no more. Thus began the Age of Fire. But soon the flames will fade, and only dark will remain. Even now, there are only embers, and man sees not light, but only endless nights. And amongst the living are seen carriers of the accursed dark side.
So there we go, that was our little introduction to the story. Now we have the Undead Asylum, where we will find
Yes,
our
indeed.
character.
The dark sign brands the undead. And in this land, the undead are corralled and led to the north. Where they are locked away to await the end of the world.
And here he is. Here's Jeff.
This is your fate.
So yeah, that's the game. We just sit here and rot in this cell until the end of the world comes. That's basically it, really. Oh no, wait. Oh look, here he is, Oscar, the guy who's going to rescue us from our cell. So here we are, we're in control now, and he's just dropped down that body with the key on. Why he didn't just drop the key, I don't know, but sure. So all we have to defend ourselves at the moment is this broken sword, but we can still hit guys with it. Just doesn't do very much damage. Hopefully we can kill those guys. These things on the floor, should probably point this out, these things are messages. Now you can leave them for the players once you get a certain item in the game, but for the moment these are just developer ones that they put in as a little tutorial to give you, tell you what the controls are. You can lock onto enemies and you can run by holding the B button. But at the moment all we want to do is we want to get out of this asylum. And what this is going to be one of the main mechanics of the game. This is a bonfire, and by resting at a bonfire you gain all your health. You'll also have other things happen, as we will see in a bit, but for now all that does is regains our health if we manage to lose any. Somehow, I suppose I could have fallen off the ladder and lost some health through fall damage. But here, we're going to see our first boss. The undead, not the undead, the asylum demon. But as for now, since we don't have any weapons, we're just going to run from him. And have that gate closed behind us. And we're going to light this bonfire here. Now these bonfires act as checkpoints, so if I die, I return to the last bonfire I rested at. So I'll just rest here. Now if I get to here I can grab a shield, which I will just equip. There we go, in my left hand. And chase down this guy who's shooting arrows at me, and I can actually get a decent weapon. I can get a longsword. So let's get that equipped as well. And then take this guy out. And there we go. Pretty easy. One of the more basic enemies. In fact, probably like the weakest enemies in the game. And there's Oscar. The guy who rescued us. But what we're actually going to do first is we're going to go up here. And we're going to dodge out the way of this ball. Now, one interesting thing to notice is, until that ball broke down that wall, there wasn't actually a way into this room. And in fact, the only hole in this room was in the roof. So, Oscar has actually been smashed through the roof, presumably by the asylum demon that we just bumped into.
You're now hollow. Thank goodness. I'm done for, I'm afraid. I'll die soon.
Now, Hollow, as he referred to, is
lose my sanity.
someone who was undead, who has just gone mad.
You and I are both undead. Hear me out, will you?
Yeah, I'll hear you out.
I have failed in my mission. but perhaps you can keep the torch lit. There is an old saying in my family. Thou who art undead art chosen. In thine exodus from the Undead Asylum maketh pilgrimage to the land of ancient lords. When thou ringeth the bell of awakening, the fate of the undead thou shalt know.
It's a bit of a long saying, that, in your family.
And I can die with hope in my heart.
Okay.
Oh, one more thing. Here, take this. An Estus flask. An undead fate.
Definitely a hugely important item, that, the Estus flask. Basically, we're going to be using that to heal up. And at the moment, we have 5 uses of it. And another thing that happens, like as I said, when you use a bonfire, you regain all your health. You also regain uses of your Estus flask to heal up, so that's useful.
Oh, and this.
And he also gives us the key that allows us to progress to the next area.
I must bid farewell. I would hate to harm you after death. So go now, and thank you.
Yeah, so, as he was saying about going hollow, basically, when you are undead, every time you die, you just come back. And that's basically it. You can't die properly, you just keep coming back to life. So, you can just open this gate, and that leads back to that bonfire. I'm not going to use it now, but it's just a shortcut that you can open up. So basically, you can never die. So eventually, what happens is you just end up going insane, and you lose your humanity, and you become a hollow. Which is what these guys are. These are hollows. They used to be human, but they've lost their humanity, and they're just completely insane, and that is why they just attack us on sight. As you see, we use the key there for that door that Oscar gave us. It's just put in so that you can't progress without getting the Estus flask. Oh my god. Oh my god, I'm doing terribly because I'm not properly concentrating. Now, I wonder if I can get a backstab off on this guy. I can. There we go. So yeah, you have a light attack, which is that. You have a strong attack, which is that with this weapon. You can kick enemies. Hang on, sorry, let's try that again. You can kick enemies like that to break their guards. And you also have a special jumping attack you can do. And as I just showed you there, you can backstab enemies for quite for like critical damage if you manage to actually pull it off. And there is something else you can also do for critical damage. I'm going to try and do it here. I'm not fantastic at it, but there we go. And you can parry attacks away if you time it right. If you press it's LT, the left trigger on an Xbox, or L2 on a PlayStation. I'm actually using a PS4 controller to play this at the moment, so it's L2 for me. And you swing your shield like that, and if you time it right, you can parry an attack, and it allows you to get in a really powerful riposte. I'm just going to have a drink of my Estus flask. Now, you might have noticed there that I didn't access a menu or anything to heal up. That's because I can access menus, but while I'm accessing the menu, the game isn't actually paused. There isn't actually a way to pause the game. So if you want to change what you've got equipped, or you want to heal, you have to do that all in real time. And if there are enemies around you, then yeah, you have to do it while those enemies are attacking you. You have to wait for the right time to attack. Hello. We're going to fight this guy now. First of all, we're going to do a plunging attack, which is something you can do if you can drop, if you actually can drop down onto enemies. There's not many chances you actually get in the game to do this to bosses, but you get to do it to this boss. And it does quite a lot of damage if you can actually get it to connect. Oh god. Luckily I got my shield up just in time there. I prefer to actually roll out the way this guy's attacks, because it allows you more chance to attack. This guy, not too hard. He's just a small test. End of the tutorial boss, as it is. And there we go, he's dead. And there we go, we get the big Pilgrim's Key. And we also get some humanity. Now I'll explain what that's used for in a moment at the bonfire. Well, when we reach the next bonfire. But if we use the big pilgrim's key, we can open this door, and we can continue up here, and we can actually leave the Undead Asylum. All we have to do is come up to the edge of this cliff here.
Only in the ancient legends it is stated that one day an undead shall be chosen. To leave the Undead Asylum in pilgrimage to the land of the ancient lords. Lordran.
So, here we are. This crow, I believe it is a crow. Could be wrong, I'm not an ornithologist, but I believe it is a giant crow. And that will bring us here. To Lordran, but more importantly, to Firelink Shrine. And this area is basically going to act as sort of our hub for our time in Lordran, because basically wherever we go, we will pretty much almost always end up coming back here, and that makes this the most important bonfire in the game, pretty much. So let's rest here. Now, if I just go and grab this item here, there should be some more humanity, I believe. It is. Now, you can use humanity. If I just use one now, you'll see the number in the top left increased to 1. That is the amount of soft humanity you have. Now, if you die, you lose that. You also lose all your souls, which is the number in the bottom right. I currently have 2,324 souls. And they are used to level up, and they're used as currency to pay people for things. It's basically used for everything. So, if you die, you drop your souls and you lose all your humanity. And at the point you died, or well, slightly before, it's about 10 seconds or so before you died, the game will place down a in fact, you know what, I'm just going to demonstrate it now, because there's no real penalty if I can easily get my bloodstain back. So I'm just going to jump off this cliff and die, and show you that I do in fact lose that humanity that I did. That's got back to 0, and my souls have gone back to 0. But there is this here. So as I said, it's a bit before you died. It's not exactly at the place you died, but you will find your bloodstain, and if you can reach it, you will get the soft humanity you have back, and you will get your souls back. Now, if you die again before you reach that bloodstain, that's it. That's all gone. It's only your most recent death that remains. So if you die and then you die again before you reach your bloodstain, you lose all your souls and soft humanity you had. Now, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to use this bonfire to reverse hollowing. Now, as you can see, I currently am sort of zombie. I was currently sort of like a corpse, sort of almost zombified. Now, if I reverse hollowing, I become human again. See, I've got a nice human face now. Now, this has a few benefits in the game. One of them is... I'm not sure actually, no. Because I'm not sure if... Right, let me just check something. No, that doesn't... If you have more soft humanity, because I can continue to add humanity now. Even though I'm already human, I can continue to add humanity, and that number in the top left will increase. And I'm not 100% certain on this, but I think that the more soft humanity you have, the more damage you do, up to a certain point. And also, the more soft humanity you have, the more chance you have of enemies dropping items. There is a stat here, item discovery, on the right hand side, if you look at your stats. And that's currently at 100. Now, that is the base. But for every item, for every extra humanity you have, up to 10, that will increase. Now, the first one, I believe, gets it up to 150. Then the others are not so big until when you have 10 humanity, that item discovery is 210. But the main reason that people regain their humanity is when you are human, you can summon people into your game. Now, there will be NPCs that you can use to summon, but also if you're online, you'll be able to summon in other players online, and basically you can use these to help you defeat bosses, but you have to be human to be able to summon people in. However, there is a penalty to this, in that when you are human, other people can invade your game. So if you're human and online, other people who are playing the game online can use an item in their game, and they can invade your game, and they will attempt to kill you to steal your humanity. This is very annoying when it happens, because I'm not particularly good at PvP in this game, so I often die when I get invaded. Luckily, it's not massively common, especially at this point. Just after the game came out, it was pretty damn common, but it's died down a bit. But I'm gonna say that I am probably likely to get invaded at some point during this playthrough. But if I die now, as I said before, the soft humanity you have falls on the ground and is with your bloodstain when you die. But if I die now, I lose my humanity. I go back to being hollowed. You know, I go back to being sort of corpse-looking, and I don't get that humanity back. When I die, that humanity doesn't drop. So if I were to die now, I would essentially have lost one humanity. That's the basic mechanics, anyway. I can also use humanity to kindle the bonfire. Now, as you will notice, I now have 10 uses of the Estus Flask. That is because this bonfire has been kindled once. This one is automatically kindled. Now, I believe that's because it's watched over by Firekeeper. If I come down here, you will see she doesn't speak, but there is a Firekeeper underneath this bonfire. And there are a few other bonfires in the game that are... Well, there's two. There's one that I've heard theories that people have said that they're a Firekeeper, but there are two that are next to other Firekeepers, and both of those bonfires, I believe, give you 10 Estus Flasks, because they've already been kindled. Any other bonfire, by standards, will only give me 5 Estus Flasks. I have to use a humanity to kindle the bonfire to get 10 uses out of it. Now, I can't kindle it past 10 yet, but I will get an item later in the game that will allow me to kindle it further. And we'll see that when we get there. But for now, finally, let's talk to this guy. This is the Crestfallen Warrior. Let's have a chat with him.
Well, what do we have here? You must be a new arrival. Let me guess. Fate of the undead, right? Well, you're not the first. But there's no salvation here. You'd have done better to rot in the Undead Asylum. But too late now. Well, since you're here, let me help you out. There are, actually, 2 bells of awakening. One's up above in the Undead Church. The other is far, far below, in the ruins at the base of Blight Town. Ring them both, and something happens. Brilliant, right? Not much to go on, but I have a feeling that won't stop you. So, off you go. It is why you came, isn't it? To this accursed land of the undead?
So this guy, he's just given up. So he just sort of sits there and just watches everything else happen. He doesn't really do much until quite a bit later in the game. And then even then he doesn't really do much. He just does one thing. But he gave us some useful information. He told us that we are not the only one to have left the Undead Asylum, apparently. We're not the first. There have been others. And he also told us that there is not actually just a Bell of Awakening. There are 2 bells. One is up, which is up that way. And one is down. Now, we're going to be going for the one that's up first. You don't have to. You can pretty much go anywhere at the start of this game. With some exceptions. There is... I don't know why I did that. I've already rested at that bonfire. There are a few exceptions. There are some some areas that are cordoned off until much later in the game. But for now, we can go pretty much quite a few directions, but for now we're going to go up this way. Because this is, as playing this game for the first time, this is the way you should go. More experienced players, they will sometimes go other ways to get better items first, but I don't think I'm good enough to do that. I am really worried that I'm going to embarrass myself with how bad I actually play this game. I hope not. I think I'm alright at it, but I don't know yet. If we run up here, take this guy out, hopefully. Yep. And get... Oh, what the hell happened then? I don't know if that was a glitch. I've never seen him, like, leap like that. Just, like, completely, like, 10 yards forwards. But, anyway. Let's kick this guy off the edge, shall we? There we go. Kick him off. I don't know what it is about that, but I just get some sort of weird joy out of just kicking enemies off the edge like that. There's a rat here. Quickly kill him. Grab this. Now these souls that I'm picking up, a soul of a lost undead, you can just basically use them to get more souls, but we'll save them for now because it's better to use them when you just need a few extra souls to get an extra level or to get an item. Because if you die, you keep them. You keep all your items when you die. So it's good to have those as backup in case you do lose a large amount of souls. If you die a couple of times and all your souls that you've collected have gone. So it's best not to just use them frivolously. Now this is a bit of a basic area. There's not too much trouble here, as long as you're cautious and patient. That's the main part of this game. Dark Souls 101. Just take your time. Don't rush in anywhere. Just observe your surroundings and just be patient. Second lesson I would say is always try and fight enemies one-on-one if you can, because any enemy one-on-one shouldn't be a problem, with some exceptions. Now that's a dragon. That is the Hellkite dragon. Now we'll be seeing him in a bit, but for now he's just going to fly off. But anyway, as I was saying, any enemy on his own shouldn't cause you a problem, with the exception of bosses. Oh my god. See, this is what I mean. Once you get a few enemies, because I've got these two, and I've got a guy shooting arrows at me. Well, I think it's a crossbow actually, so it's technically bolts, but with the exception of bosses and some, I suppose, like, there's almost mini bosses, there are some enemies that don't respawn. So with the exception of them, you shouldn't really have any problem if they're on their own. The only issue that should happen is if you get swarmed by quite a few enemies at the same time. Now actually, if I come over here, I can actually see these are summon signs. So what these are, if I touch this, this is another player. And there we go, there he is. And I can summon him into my game to help me if I'm human. And I can't remember what you get out of it. I think you get a humanity if you help them defeat a boss, but I could be wrong. I know what you get on Dark Souls 2 because I've done a lot more of being summoned on Dark Souls 2. I haven't done it in a while in Dark Souls 1. I generally don't go for that being summoned in, but maybe I will. Maybe I'll do a bit of it later, see if I can get summoned for any bosses. But I've just picked up this wooden shield. You know what? It's actually better. It's actually worse than the heat shield because the heat shield has 100% physical reduction. I think I'm used to picking other classes, in which case the wooden shield is generally better than the shield I initially pick up. But if we come in here, we're going to find our first bonfire on this path, and we're going to light it. And in fact, actually I think this is a good point to show, because I don't think I've talked about this yet. But if you use a bonfire, all the enemies respawn. As you can see over there, there's that crossbow guy. Now, there are some enemies that don't respawn. Bosses, when you beat them, they won't respawn, and then there are other guys that you will find that don't respawn. But the vast majority of regular enemies will respawn when you use a bonfire. So, yeah, keep that in mind. But for now, I'm just going to rest at this bonfire, and I think I'm going to end this part here. And in the next part, we're going to continue exploring Undeadburg, and unless I do something completely wrong, we should be taking on our next boss in the next part. So I will see you then.